every student is a unique human being. We have different behaviors, needs, expectations, and it is these that cause the individual differences. A number of factors are responsible for these individual differences. The culture in which an individual is brought up, the socio-economic conditions in which the individual is living, the cognitive abilities, the personality of the individual, the language development process, all these things contribute to individual differences. A teacher should understand the individual differences in order to provide the best education possible to the students. According to Hurlock, development is a progressive series of changes that occur as a result of maturation and experience. According to some others, development is a qualitative change resulting in a complex process of integration of various functions and not mere increase in bodily proportions. Development is also defined as the changes in the structure, thinking and behavior of a person that occur as a result of both hereditary and environmental influences. These developmental changes are usually smooth, progressive and cumulative. They result in increased size of the person, ability to solve complex problems and integration of organization and functions. The lifespan is divided into a number of stages. It is a continuous process, but in order to study, in order to understand the various changes that are taking place, it is divided into certain discrete stages. All of us have to pass through these stages. If there is a failure in one of these stages, then it is likely that it would cause some problems at a later date. The pace with which an individual passes through and what he gains in the stage, it all depends on the individual. The accepted division of lifespan is prenatal and postnatal, that is development taking place before birth, that is prenatal, development taking place after birth, that is postnatal. From conception till birth, it is prenatal. From birth onwards, in the postnatal development, the first 2 weeks are termed infancy. From 2 weeks till the end of the second year, it is babyhood. From third year onwards till the end of sixth year, it is the early childhood. From seventh year till the end of 12th year, it is termed late childhood. 13 to 14 years is the stage of puberty. From 14 to 18, it is adolescence. From 19 to 40, it is the age of early adulthood. From 40 to 60, it is late adulthood, and 60 onwards, it is the old age. This division of lifespan into discrete stages is only for convenience to study, and there is no logic involved in this division of lifespan into number of stages. The process of growth and development is studied basically in 5 areas, that is physical growth, cognitive development, moral development, psychosocial development, and emotional development. Physical development, which is also termed, in physical growth, there is unfolding of the genetic potential of the individual due to maturation. Number of cells are added. Structurally, there will be increase in bodily proportions of the individual. At the same time, the individual becomes more and more refined, that is, functionally the individual becomes more competent. The direction in which the growth and development take place is cephalocaudal, that is, from head to toe, and it is from the center to the periphery, that is called proximo-distal. The growth and development process takes place in these two directions, from head to toe and from center to periphery. That is why the brain matures much before an individual gains control over the extremities. Similarly, the parts at the center of the body, that is the heart, lungs, become mature or will be ready much before the extremities. At birth, the infant possesses all the structures that an adult has: the nervous system, the blood circulation system, the respiratory system, the hands, legs, all these things are present at birth. As an individual grows older, these systems become perfect. It all depends on the environment in which the individual is brought up and the genetic potential that the individual has. There are certain critical periods in the process of growth and development. Infancy is a stage of rapid growth and development. For the individual to crawl, roll, sit, stand, the individual needs to develop structurally and also functionally in order to perform all these tasks. This is a stage of rapid growth, and this is a critical period in the process of growth and development. The preschool children are very active, muscles well developed, that is, the gross motor development has taken place, whereas the fine motor development has not taken place, and that is why they will not be in a position to do certain things, like they will not be able to hold a pencil that needs eye-hand coordination. They can participate in various activities, climbing, jumping, running, whereas it is very difficult for them to concentrate on writing something holding the pencil, because it needs eye-hand coordination, and that is reached only towards the end of the 6th year, whereas they are very active and they take part in a number of physical activities, because of which they easily get tired. They need periods of rest in order to regain, in order to rejuvenate, and that is why they need periods of rest in between. Primary school children have difficulty in focusing on finer objects, and they have difficulty in focusing on fine print. Therefore, they prefer to take part in those activities that involve themselves, that is in various physical activities, and they have difficulty in concentrating on finer things. Preschool children have difficulty in concentrating on fine print and objects. That is why they prefer to get involved in activities, physical activities that need gross motor activity. They have lot of control over their bodies, and because the body is not fully developed and because the ligaments are not fully developed, they have some problem with regard to their participation in certain activities. We also find gender differences in the process of growth and development. For example, boys participate in physical activities such as climbing, running, skipping, and these activities much more than girls. That means, as far as the physical growth is concerned, boys tend to have an edge over girls in the process of physical development. After childhood, the student enters into the teenage. The first 2 years form the stage of puberty. This is when an individual becomes active and develops the secondary sexual characteristics. We find gender differences in puberty. Girls mature much before the boys. That is, by the age of 14, most of the girls mature and look taller, broader, stronger compared to boys. Boys, in case of boys, it starts only at the age of 12 or 13 and it goes on till the age of 15. So, it is necessary for the teacher to understand these differences in sexual characteristics and these differences in gender as far as maturity is concerned, that of the boys and girls. So, by the end of puberty, they have the gametes produced. Most girls tend to reach puberty much before boys. The menstrual cycle begins and the bodily changes take place. In case of boys, the release of testosterone, that is the male hormone, it results in increase in bodily proportion, growth of hair and deepening of voice, that is the secondary sexual characteristics are seen. So, the process of puberty ends and an individual enters the adolescence. So, by the end of teenage, an individual reaches maturity. From then onwards, there will be a decline in the efficiency of the individual. That means, functionally there will be degeneration taking place from this age till the end of life. So, this is something about physical growth that takes place in an individual, and it is necessary for the teacher to understand the age and stage of growth of the individual in order to understand the learner and also provide suitable education. cognitive development is explained by Jean Piaget in his famous theory of cognitive development. According to him, there are two processes, that is organization and accommodation, continuously taking place in an individual. Organization is the tendency to systematize and combine processes into coherent general systems. Adaptation is the tendency to adjust to the new environment. According to Piaget, these tendencies govern both physiological functioning and intellectual functioning. The organized patterns of behavior are called schemes by Piaget. Children formulate, as they interact with their environment, these schemes. Schemes can be behavioral or cognitive. Whenever a child experiences something new that does not fit into the existing schemes, adaptation becomes necessary. The three concepts of organization, adaptation and schemes are interrelated. In order to be organized, children try to have a place for everything, that is accommodation. These three processes of organization, adaptation and schemes are interrelated. A child needs to make provision for the new information, and that means he needs to accommodate. Wherever necessary, suitable changes have to be made, and this is the three concepts of organization, adaptation and schemes are interrelated. In order to be organized, children try to have a place for everything, that is accommodation. They want to put everything in its place, that is assimilation. The product of organization, adaptation is the creation of new schemes that allow them to organize at a higher level and to adapt more effectively. According to Piaget, there are 4 stages of cognitive development. According to Piaget, cognitive development can be studied under 4 stages. During infancy and toddlerhood, that is till the end of the 2nd year after birth, he termed it as sensory motor stage. During this stage, the individual receives inputs through the various sense organs, and because of participation in various motor activities, that is why it is termed a sensory motor stage. The second stage is a stage of pre-operations. The individual learns the language, learns the symbols, understands and then tries to make sense out of it. Preschool and primary school children try to make sense out of symbols. They gain lot of information and they try to interpret it by understanding the language, which is otherwise abstract, that is they try to make sense out of the various symbols. Symbols are derived from mental imagination involving visual images and bodily sensations. The term operation means an action carried out through logical thinking. Children in this pre-operational stage are pre-logical. They have problem with centration. Children have to overcome perceptual centration, irreversibility and egocentrism. Children at this stage have problem in solving conservation problems, which is otherwise called perceptual centration. These children do not understand the logic behind simple mathematical reversibility, that is, the problem of irreversibility. They find it difficult to take another person's perspective, and this is also known as egocentrism. Elementary school children understand the logic. They might have entered the stage of concrete operational stage. They understand the principle of conservation, that is, the amount of something does not change if the form is changed. For example, the contents of a glass tumbler, when they are poured into another tumbler, as the contents did not change, there will not be change in the amount of water that is transferred. During the concrete operational stage, they will be able to understand this principle of conservation. When children enter the stage of formal operations, that is, during adolescence, starting from the age of 12, they will be able to understand the logic. They will be in a position to hypothetically solve a problem, and this is the stage of formal operations. As the individual passes through the 4 stages of cognitive development, starting from the sensory motor stage, then pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and finally the formal operational stage, the process of cognitive development is more or less reached. The teacher needs to understand the stage of development that the individual is passing through. For the teacher to understand the child, to explain the concepts, to make the child understand, it is necessary that the teacher understand the stage of cognitive development in order to provide instruction more effectively and in order to impart learning more effectively. Applying the theory of cognitive development proposed by Piaget, the teacher should understand the stage of development of the child, so that better instruction can be provided and the teacher can cater to the needs of the child, can give examples that the child can understand depending on the stage of development, and the teacher should also promote assimilation and accommodation in the child. That is, new information always is poured in, and there should be provision for the new information, that is, sometimes it has to be accommodated and sometimes there is a need for adaptation. So, the teacher should understand the process of physical development of the individual and also the stage of cognitive development of the individual in order to provide the best instruction.